How did you find Chompy this morning? What made you think he was in trouble?
He was stuck in his bed and we called him and he couldn't move. And he kept moving his front legs like this, kind of like up and down, but he just couldn't move forward or get out of bed.
And so you brought him in and you thought he might be poisoned.
I thought he was poisoned. I thought his limbs were going stiff and maybe he was poisoned.
Yeah.
And he was, I think he was just really scared and in pain, so he didn't know how to move. And
yeah.
that's why I thought he was feeling sick too and possibly could have ate something that poisoned.
But when I examined Chompes right away, I noticed that Chompes was having a lot of trouble using his rear legs. So we put his legs on the ground like that. You'll notice, sorry, Chompes, that he drags himself. He can't really use his rear legs. So we can see in his mouth he's got black gums, but his color's nice and pink. He's breathing pretty good. He just doesn't have any power in his hind limbs. So if it's his spine, then sometimes what we do is we'll squeeze on the toes. This is going to look cruel, to see if he can feel any pain. And you can see him look right down like, ow, I feel pain. Ow. Do you feel pain? Oh, quit. So he can feel pain down there, so he doesn't have, he's paralyzed. He's got paralysis, we call it. He's got lack of power there, but he can feel pain, which is good. So this is Chompy's spine, and the vertebrae are blocks, and the spacers between are the discs. So what we look for when we look for any dog that's paralyzed in the hind quarters, we look for fractures or dislocations all up and down the spine. All the vertebrae seem to be in position, and there's no spaces that are absolutely that are smaller than the others. We look at the bone here, and the disc is a spacer, and then if another bone on the other side, if this disc starts to collapse as the two vertebrae push on it and gets a bleb on top of it right there, like a tube, it will start to bubble up and it'll push on the spinal cord. And since this is all encased in muscle and bone, the spinal cord doesn't have anywhere to go. So as the bubble pushes up on it, then the feeling can't go from the head down to the feet, and you get some paralysis. So if this was Chompy's spine, no, it's not something to eat. These are the vertebrae. Look at Chompy's trying to push me away. He says, I don't want to stay here, I want to go home. And here's the spinal cord. Discs in the spine, each vertebrae is separated by a spacer of kind of a cartilage material called a disc. In Chompy's spine, as the disc kind of isn't as firm, it gets compressed. Like if I squeeze every day, the spine gets moved and gets pressed on, and these discs usually they're there to try to keep the bones apart. But if the cartilage material or the disc isn't very good, it gets compressed. And then just like an inner tube tire, it might get a bubble. If the bubble is straight up at 12 o'clock, it presses on the spinal cord and causes paralysis and not pain. But if the bubble is out to the side and presses on nerves, then it causes pain. But in Chompy's case, in his spine, then it's just pressing at 12 o'clock on the spinal cord. So Chompy's legs don't work quite as well. There's a loss of power. They're a little bit paralyzed, but he can still feel them. If a dog can't feel them and can't move at all, then the prognosis or the guess that they'll recover is much worse. Because if they can feel them and if they can move their tail like Chompy can, then their odds for recovery are much better. Don't worry, you're going back to your mom. So we're hopeful with some time that Chomp can recover. So words, right? So I wanted to show you a drawing of what I was talking about. You can see the blocks of the vertebrae, and you can see the spacing, the spacers, the disc spacers, and it says prolapse intervertebral disc, and that bubble's pressing up on the spinal cord, and that's preventing Chompes' feeling from getting from Chompes' head down to his back legs. In veterinary medicine now we have MRIs that can take pictures, but not everybody can afford them, or not everybody can afford intensive treatment. So in Chompes' case, fortunately, we're going to use time and some medicine to see if that makes a difference, and that if the bubble will shrink down and stop pressing on that spinal cord that doesn't have anywhere to go in that channel that you see it in, then potentially the nerves will do their work again and the feeling will return and Chompes will feel a lot better. And I think that's going to be the case. So if you let's all keep our fingers crossed and hope that Chompes starts to feel better. Website at Dog Dish Diet, and check my book out about how to choose a better diet for dogs, whether it be commercial, canned, raw, or homemade. And then my newer ebook, Feed Your Pet to Avoid the Vet, teaches you how to slow cook for dogs and for cats. Because the less stuff, the less chemicals and preservatives and grains and other stuff that are in the food makes a big difference for some dogs and cats with bowel problems and skin problems and ear problems and even seizure and bladder problems. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll try to make another video when Chompes comes in so we can see how he's doing. Have a great day.